They are often referred to as the mudpluggers, but that's actually a rather downbeat name for what is quite a sophisticated little car. A car that can take on gradients and can take on terrain that sometimes actually defies gravity, it seems. When John Crosley, the renowned race car designer, set about building these trial cars, they're more properly known, he had to almost leave aside 40 years of experience because now he was set new challenges. The car had to be low enough on the ground for the centre of gravity, but of course also high enough to avoid all the obstacles that it would come up against. On top of that, of course, it had to be light and nimble. So watch and wonder then as we have a look at these cars in the FloGas Irish Experts Sporting Trials held on the grounds actually of the Crosley factory itself. Now, I know some of these drivers might not be in the first flushes of youth anymore, but I can assure you they don't mind at all when you say they've gone over the hill.
The hamlet of Hollywood in North Down has quite a history. This picturesque little town on the shores of Belfast Lough actually dates back to the 7th century, and in the 21st century, history is still being made in the area, motor racing history. As nestling in the Hollywood Hills, there is a small factory where a long-time Hollywood resident has been constructing world-conquering machines for many years. In fact, the Crosslé Car Company is the longest surviving motorsport constructor in the United Kingdom.
Mention Crosslé cars and you think of the racing cars that have been built in this County Down factory. For the past 50 years, they have been winning trophies for their owners throughout the motor racing world. On a worldwide scale, they've been bringing home championships thanks to the ingenuity of one man, John Crossley. However, 12 years ago, he was persuaded to put his design talents to something completely different.
Yes, for half a century, Crosley racing and sports cars have been winning races at home and abroad, and they've been especially popular in America and on the continent. To this day, Crosleys are supplying cars and parts to the States, France, Switzerland and the UK.
The band was jumping, the people too, mess around. They're doing the mess around. They're doing the mess around. Everybody doing the mess around.
It was with amazing racing machines like this 8F V8 engined Formula Libre car driven by Tommy Reed, or the 5, 7 and 9S sports racing cars, and particularly their Formula Ford 1600 and Formula Ford 2000 cars, that they made their name both at home and in America. But 14 years ago, the company's founder John Crosley took on a very different challenge to build a very different machine, and that machine is shaking the English sporting trials establishment to its very foundations. The challenge of designing a trials car, very, very different to a racing car.
Oh yes, totally different, but many of the things that you learn along the way apply. I didn't know anything about mud plugging, as it's called, or sporting trials cars, but gave it a lot of thought and talked to a lot of people. The McKinney brigade from Tandragee were very helpful in advice and what not to do and what to do and things like that.
First of all, what was the basic criteria?
To make plenty of suspension movement, so as try and keep the wheels on the ground. Suspension geometry, as one thinks of it in racing car terms, is not really a consideration. Live axle cars were being made, and there was no point in making a car and making it pretty well the same as what other people were making. So that was the main thought, was that it had to be different and ideally better.
You see, the FloGas Irish Expert Sporting Trials is not about speed. It's about going up hills you simply would not believe and down gradients that even a mounted goat would balk at.
Now let me have it, there, boy. Now you got it, boy.
Yes, this branch of the sport is different, very different, and even the cars are very different too.
Clive, this isn't your normal motor car.
No, this is not. This is a Crosley trials car.
Very, very different driving techniques to normal.
Oh, absolutely. Completely unique. More akin to driving probably an agricultural vehicle, a tractor with its independent rear brakes.
Right, now, what are the techniques? I notice your hands there on a sort of fiddle brakes, is that right?
That's right. These are independent brakes, working each wheel independently, obviously, and they assist you with traction, and they also assist you to turn around sharp objects. You've got to get your speed right. Your forward momentum must be right. On grass, one tries to trickle, but if it's very wet, very slippery, of course, get into a high gear and full open.
Well, those are the cars. Now to the competition, which is not about how fast you can go, but how far you can get.
In number 1, George Elliott is driving and Andrew Kidney is having a rather uncomfortable ride with him on section 1. The object of the exercise is to score as few points as possible. Each section starts at the 12-point board, and as you pass through the gates, the points diminish to 0. So if you clean a section, you get no points. George is knocking off the points here. And it's an excellent run. He just gets 1 point. Now for two real experts, the father and son team of Tom and Andrew McKinney. And they're in one of the older beam-axle Concords. Arnie Black is alongside me.
Yes, Tom is one of the most experienced drivers here. Came from motor racing and he's done very well in sporting trials. This car of his is not the most sophisticated, but Tom can really work the car well, and on his day, very difficult man to beat.
You see on the right, as he goes past the boards, the points diminish, and now he's coming up to the very tricky finish section and a charge up the hill.
Always trying to balance forward momentum and wheel spin. It's not a simple equation to work out. It takes a lot of experience.
A very low 1 point score. Andrew and George have swapped seats here, and look at the concentration on Andrew's face.
This is one of the most difficult motorsport events that you can compete in. The driver technique is really about 90% of the result. These guys have to really try all the time. Concentration is absolutely paramount. Look at the concentration on his face as they come down the hill. Will he put a little bit too much lock on it? Working the fiddle brakes, trying to get just enough grip and not too much. Almost hit the post. Oh, did he touch it as he turned around?
Well, he just snicked it actually, but it's a 6, I'm afraid, and this last charge doesn't count. John McKinney and Andrew Walker at number 5 are in another Concord. Again, unlike the Crosleys, this has a solid rear axle.
These cars are very good, but they do suffer a little bit over the independent cars, so they are allowed a tire pressure advantage, allowing them to be slightly lower, which can be a great help to them in certain conditions.
In fact, run at very, very low pressures, don't they, Arnie?
Yes, anywhere almost from 0 up, but normally the clerk of the course decides if it's going to be a £5 day or whatever.
Now here they go for the last blast up the hill. They're past the 4, they're past the 3, and finally they stick on the 2. But that was very close to a 1. George Burton and John Crosley get just about the same distance, and they score 2, and they are 7th after just 2 laps. Hugh McNeil is just 1 point behind in 8th place in his beautifully prepared Crosley, and he's coming up to that tricky 6 board.
Yes, this is going to be a real test here. This is not an easy, and it just slides around. You've got to be so careful not to let the tail touch the post, and he just managed to get around there beautifully.
And this is George McKay, who's 9th, another point down, and he and Kevin Valentine are having a wild ride in their Concord.
Yeah, this is one of the older cars, and you really have to work hard to keep up with these cars.
Number 15, this is young Simon Gracie and his dad Clive, and they're in 10th place in their Crosley, and getting stuck at this number 6 board. Well, John Crosley talked about the need for suspension travel and a good steering lock, and here you see it in action aboard Mervyn McKinney's car. He and Stephen Edgar are going really well, and over the first 2 laps, they're in 2nd place. They're another pair to get right up to that 1 marker. We're really amongst the experts now. Brian Edgar has won the Olympics of Sporting Trials, the British Trial Drivers Association Gold Star Final on 2 occasions. And he and his passenger Peter Flack are giving it everything.
Yes, he's coming up to a very tricky descent now. He's going to have to be really careful when he comes around here, not to let the car slide on at the bottom of the hill. Working the brakes very carefully. Then, of course, once you get it through here, he's going to have to really give it a little bit of stick to get up to the next marker. Makes it look so easy. But it's all a matter of judgment. Wheel spin, revs, very tricky.
And once again, they come very gently down here, and then they have to turn the car right round and go up the hill again to try and get rid of those points. For the last moment, but they get stuck there. However, it's good, it's 2 points. So after the first 2 laps, just 6 points separate the first 3 cars. And to many a person's surprise, it's not one of those state-of-the-art mud pluggers that's in the lead. There's a Concord leading the Crosleys, which has to be a little embarrassing on their own home ground. However, they've 2 further laps to rectify the situation.
I declare she can mess around. Mess around. Everybody do the mess around.
It's an unseasonably pleasant March day in North Down for the FloGas Irish Expert Sporting Trial. And after a leisurely lunch, there isn't much time for Pamela to digest her sandwiches before Brian Edgar gives her a hands-on demonstration of the art of mud plugging. In the afternoon, the competition moves from the woods to more open ground, but one ingredient still remains: the gradients.
Well, as we head into the second series of loops, the question is, can anybody overtake the Tom McKinneys?
Now we take a ride with Mervyn McKinney up tests 3 and 4, and this is very different country. Basically, test 3 is a blast up a slippery hill, and we're getting now into traction difficulties as we reach the top. But we're trying to get across that finish line and get 0 points, and that's exactly what he does. So we move on to test 4. This is a lot trickier. There's a lot more twists on this one. We've got over the initially very slippery start. Now we're up at a few hairpins and up to the final hill, and we really got to get traction up this bit. It's very difficult indeed. And we were nearly running out of momentum there, but we made it. George Elliott was lying in 5th place at lunchtime, and he will move up a position after lap 3. He is certainly trying, and oh so nearly makes it to the top, and just scores 2 points. Veteran racing driver Tommy Reid, who persuaded John Crosley to design a trials car, has been away from the sport for a number of years, and he and his wife Margaret are a little rusty. Get stuck at the 7-point marker here. Jeffrey Mulcahy is leading Class C, and Ken Valentine looks as if he wants to get out.
Yeah, it looks like he's reconsidering the whole idea, but you can see the car sliding about on the surface now, and it's amazing if you try to walk up here how incredibly difficult it is. These cars make it look so easy.
They get past the 8 marker to score 7 points here. Harold McNeil has Stephen McQuitty in the passenger seat, and he looks as if he can't possibly stay in.
Yeah, certainly doing his share of leaning. Quite a lot of them to lean, it must be said, but Harold's doing his best here. You can see him working the fiddle brakes, keeping the car moving. It's all down to momentum as it comes to the really steep bit.
To put it mildly, this is a spirited run, and they're rewarded with a 1-point score.
Great effort, tremendous effort.
Mark and Simon Hughes are ex-motorcycle trials riders who are trying their hand at the 4-wheel version of the sport. But their Concord has a misfire, and Mark doesn't make it past the 6 marker on section 3. As As former Honda team manager looks on, George Burton and John Crosley are in deep meditation. And they get up to 7 points on Section 3.
I think they probably would have liked a little bit further than that, but unfortunately it looks like they've run out of options here. Too much wheel spin at this point.
Clive is now taking Simon for a ride. The Gracies have returned to sporting trials after 10 years' absence, and Clive is in a commendable 7th place.
Clive was a very strong contender for this quite a few years ago, and he's really getting back into it again. It's great to see him coming back again.
And he's going really well here. He almost cleans it. Just 1 point.
Another tremendous effort. Great considering how little time he's had on the car since he's come back.
However, now it's Simon's turn.
Yes, he's going to find this maybe a little bit tricky. Very few trials under his belt, but he's done very well up to now.
And he still has a few tricks to learn from his dad, and he gets bogged down, but still it's up at the 2 marker.
Another great result. He's turning into a great driver.
Andrew Walker is going to need a chiropractor after this, as he helps John McKinney round the 12 marker in Section 3.
Yeah, working hard on this older car, it's they're not getting much help from the car compared to the modern car, so they've got to really work hard at it, and they're doing a great job on it.
Yeah, this is another great run from another one of the McKinney family, and they clean the section and are 3rd overall after the loop. And this is the pair to beat today.
Yep, the McKinney family are really on form. Tom is really attacking with this car today. He's got everything going for him. He charges up the hill. Is he going to make it to clear round, Plum?
Yes, a clear round, and the McKinney family are now in an 8-point lead with just 1 lap to go. Mervyn McKinney in 3rd place is one of the few that could beat him, but he's 10 points behind, and that's going to be difficult to make up at this stage.
It's very tricky because these guys don't give many points away, but he's really doing his best up here. He's got great momentum at the bottom of the hill, thrown offline there by a bump. That was very unfortunate. He lost a little bit of momentum.
Brian Edgar has only 8 points to find, but that again will be difficult, and they really require Tom McKinney to make a mistake at this stage, and Brian must be perfect.
Yes, he's going to have to work hard. Tom doesn't make very many mistakes. And Brian, of course, has got a great record in these cars. He's really done well in England. Trying really hard as he comes up here now. Can he get it lined up and miss that bump to put McKinney off? Succeeded, got past there, but he's going to run out of momentum just before he gets to the clear.
It's good but not perfect, 1 point. And with just 1 lap left now, we're in the final section, Section 4.
Well, on every course there's a bogey section, and the question is anybody going to get past board 4 this afternoon?
George Elliott is the first to attempt it.
Yes, difficult for him coming in at this stage, but look at the concentration, feeling the fiddle brakes as he comes up here. Nice and gently turning it in, transversing across the slope, trying to keep the wheel on at the high side with a bit of grip. They turn it in now. They've got to keep the momentum up when they need it. Very easy for me to say, this very difficult thing to do, and he just gets thrown offline as he goes around the corner. I think he's just lost out.
Well, he was well past the 4, but he got stuck in 3. However, he ends up in 4th place overall. John McKinney will drop 2 places in the final loop, and in this section, this is where the damage is done. Despite Andrew Walker's counterbalancing act, they get stuck on the 2nd marker. It's a disastrous 9 points. And these aviators surely should be in a Concord. Sadly, George and John do not take wings and fly on this occasion. The start of this section is catching out the best. Clive only gets to the 10 marker, but it doesn't drop him a place, and he finishes 6th. But what was all that fuss about? Tom makes it look easy.
Yes, it really is Tom's day today. He's making it look like he's on tarmac. Really, this sport shows the control needed by drivers. The cars are built to a very, very tight specification. While they all look very different, the rules governing their size, where the engine goes, are very, very tight.
He stops at the 3-point marker. Doesn't sound great, but it's the best that anyone has done all day. Simon Gracie can't believe how ridiculous that 9 marker point can be on this section. And he doesn't get any further. But Andrew Kidney and George Elliott, the Enniskillermen, try the gentle approach.
Well, it's worth a try, and it seems to be working. They're trundling up beautifully over the grass. Got to turn round to their right here now, go across the slope. Again, they're keeping everything under control. The last bit, of course, is the really tricky bit.
And round he comes, and now they've got to get a charge up the hill to lose those points. And a lot of bouncing, and they end up in 7th place overall. Hugh McNeil, I'm afraid, will be another victim of that nasty 9. But Mervyn McKinney rides it like a professional. The Tandragee driver will drop a place to 3rd during the afternoon.
Yes, but unfortunate for Mervyn, he has done a tremendous job in this car. The last one he had, he persisted with fuel injection until he got it right, and I really took my hat off to him. That was a very brave thing to try and do. Now they're coming round here, heading up. This is going to be the make or break bit. How much momentum can he carry up the hill for the last bit? Still going, running out.
And it gets to a point where the bouncing doesn't do any good, and the man who has taken over that 2nd place is Brian Edgar in the similar Crosley T80.
Brian really has put in some tremendous drives over the years. He really is one of those guys that when he gets the bit between his teeth, he can achieve tremendous results. He's done very well in England in these cars. Now he's coming up to this really tricky approach as well. And he's fallen into the rut on the left there. He's really going to have to work hard to keep the momentum going, to try and get forward. He's working the steering wheel and the fiddle brakes, bouncing furiously.
But it ain't going any further today. Well, Tom McKinney takes the FloGas Irish Experts trial by 9 points in his Concord, literally in the Crosslé Car Company's backyard.
Not in a hotly contested contest today, particularly between you and Brian.
So I believe, yes. There are only a couple of points, or maybe 3 points separating us. But it was a tough trial, and that's how it goes.
I got caught out. I just relaxed too much in one particular section and took a City 5. And it didn't cost me any places. Tom was well ahead, but most annoying.
Imagine winning in a non-Crosley at a Crosley event.
Terrible, isn't it? Yeah, it's the second one we've won this year, so happy to do it on the home ground.